Come on. I'm working on reviving this DRZ 400 engine after it randomly dumped all of its oil. Last time I tore it down to a short block, so today is the reassembly / rebuilding episode. So as you may remember from last video, this poor DRZ failed a leak down test. Most of that leak down was coming from the intake valves, so it is in my best interest to fully tear down the cylinder head and clean everything up. This valve doesn't look too bad. It is pretty carboned up. I am still going to give it a quick lap, but it really doesn't look too bad, just dirty and neglected. Although it's an intake valve, so it shouldn't look this like all carboned up. Okay, so valves are out. They're all in the correct order, so this is like looking the bike from the back, like from the seating position, you know, like left, right, intake, exhaust. There is some growth on the head. It's poking from the surface. I don't think it should. Seats, maybe that spot there is not okay. I don't really know what I'm looking for. I am a two-stroke person. I have no idea what all of this crap buffoonery is. I can recognize crust. This is a choice example of it. All of this, this has to be impeding performance. Like, look at this. There's so much carbon buildup. Yeah, it kind of comes off, but it's like really hard still. Yeah, that is grim. So now we can get to cleaning, which I will do in 3 steps to like maximize the cleaning aspect of the cleaning. I have here some old like solvent, diesel and WD-40, which is kind of the same thing. You could use brake clean. It would be like a much quicker process, but diesel is cheaper, does the same thing. Yes, you need to use some elbow grease, but it is all the most rewarding once you're done. Soft brushes. And after about, I would say a cumulative hour in the ultrasonic, this is the result. It's not too bad, and like the intake ports are like, I would say clean enough, but the exhaust ports, like, they're still so crusty. I guess I'm going to try and like scrape some of it off. I don't want to like go too hard on it, and you know, this is nothing a good Italian tune-up won't fix, so I think I will go a little bit with the pick, and then we'll start lapping. And of course I did it off camera to avoid getting cyberbullied for it. Now let's see what I can do to those valves. Well, as you can see, the valve seats aren't looking too well, both the intake ones and the exhaust ones. So what I want to do now is refinish them. Some valve grinding compound that I found on Amazon, which should work. Now the valves and seats don't look too bad, and like, I'm not cutting new seats. I don't want to give the valves and seats a whole new shape. I just want to improve on the finish. We are using the fine grit, and this paste needs to go on the entirety of the sealing surface of the valve to get an even finish. Now comes the elbow grease part, and what you want to do is like alternate like this, as if you were starting a fire. You know what, let me try to clean the surface a little bit more, so maybe my suction cup will have less of a terrible day. Now, this process was way harder than it needed to be, mainly because of these things. Like, these suction cups really, really suck. So what I ended up doing is doing the whole thing again, but this time I cleaned the surface of the valves better, like the surface in the combustion chamber, which I definitely didn't do by going full hemorrhoid treatment on it. And to be fair, the valves turned out pretty good. Valves and seats, I think this head is ready to reassemble. Now, when you work with valve grinding compound, there's always like some specks of it that get trapped in some crevice in the head. So you want to get this as clean as you can possibly get it. But before we get to that, I need to do something that maybe you won't like. Now, what you can see here is a perfectly flat, in theory, piece of cast iron with some 600 grit on it. This is here because the mating surface of the cylinder head looks like this. Doesn't look too bad, but still could look better. Now, I realize this isn't the ideal way to do something like this. You would usually put your sandpaper on like a granite countertop or marble countertop, or ideally a piece of glass, like that is perfectly flat. I don't have those. And you wouldn't use duct tape. You would use spray adhesive to stick the sandpaper to the flat surface you're using. And because this is aluminum, you don't want to dry sand it, it will just clog up your sandpaper. So I have here just some water. Plop it on here, like so. And you want to move in like an 8 pattern, so like, and you don't want to push down on it. So you want just the weight of the cylinder head to push down, to grind away material, like grind away as little material and as like evenly as possible, I guess. So you would do something like this. Don't press down on it, just move it side to side. And after about, I don't know, an hour cumulatively in the ultrasonic, I would say that's pretty good. Head surface is really clean. There are some stains from, I think, my detergent in the ultrasonic, which is weird. I just use dish soap. It shouldn't be like that aggressive to ruin aluminum. But it's flat enough for my standards. It's already flatter than before, as you've seen from my like paint marker thing that I did. There is some varnish here from like old oil, but I think that like predates my friend's ownership of this bike. He always changed the oil on time. Well, I changed the oil for him in time, I guess. I don't know, I'm getting confused. I've been doing too many DRZs. 2 DRZs. You can see here the like oil feed to the head. It's this hole. High pressure oil comes out of this hole and this hole. Then there is holes in the cams that feed oil to this journal. You'll see it later when I put it back together. Now let's put it back together. Yeah. I think the orientation is like so. You don't want to mix and match the valves. I didn't keep track of these because they're all the same. They go like on the head, of the head, which is good. You don't want springs to sit directly on something soft like aluminum, because the ends of the springs, like these thingies here, they're sharp, they can cut into it. Putting the valves in, I'm going to use this like valve assembly, well, not valve, but like assembly paste, which is, I think, just basically MS2 grease. This will help the valve to like not move too much in the guide when you're putting the springs in, like spring retainers and all that stuff. Putting all the valves in first, and then I'm putting the keepers in and all the springs and stuff, so the guides don't flash rust. nice and clean. As an assembly lube for everything else, I'm gonna use Lucas because that's all I've got. And I don't really want to use too much of this stuff. I don't know how that's going to like contaminate the oil or something like that. Do not forget the valve seals. Thankfully I have small little fingies. Then we have the spring seats, which I should have probably put on before the seals, but it's fine, it can slide. Mental note, put the spring seats on before you put on the valve seals. I mean, they are kind of tapered. Dang it, in case someone who is stupid tries to rebuild these. The Japanese are so smart, brother, they think about everything. What if the guy who will be performing maintenance is an absolute tool? Also, you can see the spring isn't the same one side to the other. This side has the coils much more like closer together. This side goes at the bottom. Now I have this tool to put the valve keepers back in. Now you could do this by hand. I can't be bothered, so I'm using the tool. And I showed this tool in the disassembly part of the video. I didn't really commentate on it, so I'm going to commentate about it right now. Now this is just a cheap, I think I got it either on eBay or AliExpress, but it probably came out of the same factory, regardless of where I bought it. Just your Shenzhen special. Then you have these thingies, which go either on top or at the bottom of the valve. And one of these two threaded bars has a hole that you can, that you can put a handle in to turn it, to compress the valve spring. Then you put your head in, like so. You don't want to press down on it too much. You just want it to be like stable so you can work on it. Then you seat this part, the one without the handle, on the surface of the valve. Now, DRZ engines have what's called a shim type valve clearance adjustment, which uses these shims between the valves and the buckets to achieve the correct clearance. You need some clearance between the valves and the camshaft because of thermal expansion. When the engine gets hot, you need a tolerance to not bind things against each other, because when cam gets hot, like these lobes get like ever so marginally bigger, the valves get longer, so you need some clearance between stuff. Usually you have less clearance between the intake valves and cam, like the intake cam, than you do the exhaust valves and the exhaust cam, because exhaust valves get hotter. And these shims have all like a specific thickness, like this is 2.6 millimeters. This one, I don't know, I need my micrometer to tell. I do not have valve clearance at all, like I can't bolt down the cam cap without the cam binding, which I kind of expected something like this to happen because I did grind the valves a little bit. So I need new shims, like I need different shims to get at least some clearance and then work my way from there. Or I guess not. Okay, that was wrong. Just completely inaccurate, incorrect. I've been stupid and used the dowels for the clutch cover on the cam caps, so it was binding because of that. Now I'm using the correct ones, and where's the other ones? Oh, already in place, great. Now the cam is not binding. Now, usually you check your valve clearance with your head being part of your engine, not on your table like this. You could mock the cams up as if you were trying to time the engine. You align all the marks on the cam gears, and right now you can see I can freely move the cam, so there is no load on the buckets, and you can slide your feeler gauge and start checking for clearance, starting with 0.10 millimeters, 0.1, and this valve is very much on spec. This one, on the other hand, not so much. It's dragging a little bit more. At least I think 0.10 millimeters is in spec for intake. I need to look it up. So I've crunched some numbers and I think I'm at a point that I'm happy with. For some odd reason, all the valves but this one, which is this one, were in spec, but I did have a shim to bring it back into spec. This valve was in spec, was between 0.20 and 0.25 millimeters, and spec is between 0.20 and 0.30, but I did have a shim to bring it closer to like the wider end, like the looser end of the spec. For the intake valves, they were both in spec. This one here, which is this valve here, was dragging a little bit too much for my liking on the 0.10 millimeter feeler gauge. This one, the 0.10 went in no problem, and the 0.15 didn't fit. And they both had 2.78 millimeter shims. So this valve, I left it the way it was, which is okay, I guess. And this valve here, which was slightly on the too tight side of tight, I had a 2.76 millimeter shim. I stuck that in. Now clearance is still between 0.10 to 0.15, but it's looser, more towards 0.15, which is still, I guess, fine. So the head is done. And I wanted this video to be just about the cylinder head, but I feel like it's going to be a little too short for my liking, so I'm just gonna rebuild, like reassemble the whole thing. And here's most of it. There is all the transmission stuff, crank, balance shaft, the other half. I've already cleaned this surface and it's ready for sealant, this and that surface. Also, I figured out what was wrong with it. If you remember in the previous video on this bike, I was like, you know, taking the top end off, and I was like, I might as well cut the video here. I don't think I will find anything interesting in the crankcase. I was very wrong, because look at this bad boy. This bearing took a serious beating, and I think it locked up at some point and spun. But it's fine. The new bearing doesn't have any, like, what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't move in its hole. I've also checked every other bearing for like metal flakes or shards, and like transmission as well. If like some of this stuff went between the teeth, that would have been no good, but I didn't find anything like that, which is awesome. So I just replaced this one bearing and moved on with it. And I've already prepped everything, as I said, for assembly. I've put this stuff on without recording it because it is a horrible job. I hated it. You need to warm up the bearings to get the shafts in, but you need to use like a hot air gun and not a torch, and it took the longest time, but now we're done. Transmission is in, it shifts, it feels smooth, crank is in, balance shaft is in, oil pickup is in. That's me on Panda. Hi. I don't think I'm missing anything. So I'm putting some sealant on. Now I'm going to put sealant on this case half, just because it's easier and less cluttered. You don't want too much sealant, because if you put too much, it will, like, I don't know, leak. Not really leak, but like when you put the two case half together, some sealant is getting squished out. That sealant is not only getting squished out, but it's also getting squished in. And the one that is getting squished in over time will get degraded by oil. Slowly, of course, because silicone is resistant. Like this silicone does resist oils and stuff, but it will happen, and that silicone will break down, fall off, get sucked in your oil pickup, and it will lead to a very bad day. So don't overdo it. A little goes a long way. Okay, so now per the instructions, it needs to sit for 20 minutes. and then it can be assembled.
It helps. So perfect, I am super. A part of the video where I'm going to do a bit of a glamour sequence so you all jealously admire my bad.
So I've gone ahead and put some things on, swapped some O-rings and seals for new ones. DRZs don't have like dedicated bolts or studs just for the cylinder. You use 4 bolts that hold cylinder and cylinder head together. So you need to put everything on at once to like seat the gaskets properly. But that's not really a problem for now. Problem now is putting the piston on, so I can put the cylinder on, so then I can put the head on and do all timing stuff. I did clean the piston up a little bit. Do I not need to heat it up? I guess you don't heat it up. And if I remember correctly, the dot goes towards the exhaust side. Let's proceed to lose the clip. Yeah. Now here we have a bunch of gaskets. I realized that this is a little bit messy. Even so, you don't want to touch multi-layer steel gaskets on the mating surface sides, but the base gasket for this Vertex kit is paper instead of multi-layer steel. Maybe it's going to increase compression a little bit? I hope so. More power is always welcome. And being a paper gasket, you want to get it nice and oily before you put it on, so it soaks some oil in, and then when you squeeze it down, it can like mate to the surfaces a lot better. Speaking of this Vertex kit, I couldn't find the O-ring for this little restriction thingy, which almost looks like a jet. But yeah, I couldn't find it. There is one that looks similar, but it's slightly too chunky. On it goes. Dowel pins in as well, so your gasket is in the perfect spot. Now, a couple steps before putting the cylinder on. You want to offset your piston ring like gaps. Let's say they were all here on the same side. In a cold start scenario, you'd have a perfect channel here for combustion to escape, and you don't want that. So what you want to do is maybe you have first piston ring gap here. You want to move the second gap either 180 degrees or 120 degrees. It's up to you, frankly. Either is good. And with your oil control ring, you want to do the same. The oil control ring was a little clogged up on this bike, so maybe in conjunction with new oil control rings, maybe we will see reduced oil consumption. I really hope so, because it was pretty bad. I mean, it wasn't two-stroke bad, but it wasn't ideal. Some lube for the old cylinder wall. It will smoke a little bit, but it's fine. Heck yeah, go on. Go on, boy. So now we are almost ready to put the cylinder head back on. I need to prep some things before I do that. So number one, we have ye old cam chain guide. Goes on like so. The slots down here and up here. Why did you splooge right now, like while I'm explaining stuff? And this will be held on by the head. New Morse cam chain. Look at it. Yeah, it definitely has less flex than the other one. And, you know, might as well do it while I'm in here. And I do realize I'm doing all of this out of order because the manual says to assemble all the clutch and oil pump shifter thingies before you do the top end. But the manual also assumes that I am, I don't know, Mr. Rockefeller or something, because it says to use really elaborate stuff like specialized tools and stuff. I do not have any of those, so I have to keep the piston somewhere and the crank and piston somewhere so I can use my torque wrench. Anywho, number 2 cam chain guide. This one is secured by a bolt. And there's also a washer behind it. Don't forget this one. Bolt goes, wait, you know, maybe cam chain goes on Yeah, this makes more sense. Washer behind. So the bolt gets tight on the washer and not on the case, I guess, so the cam chain guide can move freely. And this is the cam chain guide that the tensioner pushes on. Multi-layered steel head gasket, called such because it is made of multiple layers and steel. Now I know I joke about the torque wrench, but please, for the love of God, do not just send your head bolts. These are 13s. These are 12s. I don't like you. Can I just finger the exhaust port? Yes, I can. I swear to... Fuck this. Just don't entertain that. Maybe I should entertain that. Can I like do a trick like this? Oh, I am a genius. Good. And as per the manual, these need to be lubricated on the threads with engine oil. And now it's starting to get nice and top heavy. 3 head bolts. And there is a torque sequence for these, which is 25 Newton meters. We have 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Come on.
Come on.
Torque wrench. Do not do that. Okay. God, my heart dropped for a second. It was just my torque wrench skipping a tooth. Okay. 25 Newton meters done. And then 46 Newton meters. And I'm gonna hate this. I'm too old for this. There we go. The Tower of Power is completed once again. The last step of the procedure. These need to be tight at 10 Newton meters, which is like finger tight, basically. Like this, this. That's good. Now let me recheck these two bolts because I've added some tension here. Yeah. Okay, just that one. We are about ready to start to time the engine. I have the flywheel fitted and we are at top dead center. Also, I've done things by the book and applied moly grease. Now, for the procedure of timing the engine, I will start from installing the exhaust camshaft. Totally in the wrong position. And you want to install it with the 1 and 3 arrows pointing like flat on the head, like so. Double check the manual because you know you aren't as smart as you think you are. Some grease on the cam cap, and I won't get it tight right away. I just want to keep the cam in position. And for the intake cam, you want to count these pins. Well, before you do that, I guess you want the number 2 arrow flat with this surface and just eyeball it. Now, after that is done, the manual also tells you to count how many of these pins are between this arrow and that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So these marks are pointing in the correct way. The pins are correct, like the number of pins between the two, like these two is correct. And the cam is still at top dead center. I mean the crank, I guess. I don't think these have torque specs on the manual. Just don't go too tight on these. It's like steel bolts in the aluminium of the head. Bad times. And the cam chain tensioner on the DRZ is automatic. It has a ratchet system that doesn't let it push back on the spring. The chain maybe stretches a little bit over time, maybe wears out. And this spring will keep the pressure on this chain guide the same. And you will hear it click and set. This is a 14. It is a 12. I don't like you. I feel like I said that before. Just snug, like that. Let's go like 2 full turns of the crank. See what happens. cams are pointing the correct directions, and our timing marks are good. We have a timed engine. And now we are almost ready to start the very boring process of bolting, zipping stuff together, and putting this on the bike, figuring out if I did something catastrophically wrong. But before that, a word on lubrication. You will have seen that I've put this bearing, this here bearing, on with no like plastic, I guess, cover on the balls on this side, and that is for a reason. But to explain that reason, I need to give you some context about how this thing is lubricated. So a DRZ uses what's called a dry sump system for lubrication, which means that when the engine is running and you're, cruising or doing whatever with the engine on, most of the oil is not in the sump right here, but it is in an external tank. In the case of the DRZ, that tank is the frame, but it could be like a tank to the side of the engine. The oil pump that you see here, this is just one stage of the oil pump. The second stage is hidden in here. Maybe you can kind of see it, not really, but like there is a thing like that in here. I don't want to take this apart again, just trust me on that. This is the return pump. What this does is it takes oil from the pickup, it sucks oil from that, and it sends it from this hole here to that hole over there. And from that hole, it goes out from this hole over here, where there is a pipe that goes back to the oil tank, the frame, whereas the other side of the oil pump takes oil from the frame, from this hole down here, where I'm sticking my pointer in, there is a hole. Can I just lift the engine a little bit? I'm afraid of it tipping over. That. It sucks from that, goes out from this hole, in here, in this hole, gets pumped in the oil pump and out of here. From here, it goes in the clutch cover thing in this channel where there is a check valve, like a one-way ball valve. You can see there is a spring. From here, it goes up in the oil filter housing and then out from this hole after being filtered in this chamber over here. Now from this chamber, oil can go 3 ways in total. One way is down here and then out from here, in here, in the crankshaft. From here it lubricates the big end bearing and also, I think, the starter clutch. It could also go in here and then out from the under piston oil squirter, or up in the cylinder head where it lubricates the cam journals and it goes in the cams, lubricates here and here and here and here, and then gets drained back down from a hole down there. That one. You can see the channel over here where it goes down, 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 down. And then finally, it can go in that hole that you can see. From that hole, it does a bit of a loop and it comes back out from this, in this channel. I've replaced all of these O-rings. It goes out from here to the side, back in here. And when it goes back in here, you can see it goes straight to the clutch actuator right here. And this is where it lubricates the whole transmission. Down here, where the bearing is, you can't see it from here because everything is closed right now, but the primary shaft of the transmission, which is this bad boy, is hollow. Not only that, but there is a hole to the side of it, which allows oil to go in it from this chamber over here. So all of the gears from the primary shaft are lubricated. There are holes and bushings under each gear, so everything gets nice and oily. And that chamber also communicates with this chamber, I guess. Can you see the hole? The channel? And then in here the same happens. Oil just pools in here, goes in this hole and lubricates the whole of the secondary shaft of the transmission. Now you can see the bearing is open here, like there is still some grease, but it's fine. I left the bearing open from this side and then closed from the other side so that oil doesn't just go past the bearing. Oil would come in here and it wouldn't go in this hole. It would just follow the path of least resistance, just straight through the bearing. And you don't want that. That would drop your oil pressure and you would blow up your engine. Maybe not blow it up, but I don't know. I don't trust doing it, you know, not like that. Although I am very much an idiot, so feel free to correct me. Yeah, I think that was everything. So, with that said... Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video of us making a bike again, and I can finally leave my basement. If you enjoyed this video, maybe leave a like, type some words, press some of the engagement buttons, and as always, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.